There are places on this planet where time seems to stand still, where the whispers of ancient secrets linger in the air, and the ground beneath your feet holds mysteries that have baffled historians, archaeologists, and explorers for centuries. Imagine walking through the ruins of a city no one can identify, or standing before a monument built with such precision that modern technology struggles to replicate it. These are not scenes from a fantasy novel, they're real locations scattered across the globe, waiting to reveal their stories to those daring enough to seek them. Today, we're embarking on a journey to 25 of the most enigmatic historical sites ever discovered, places that defy logic, challenge our understanding of the past, and ignite an unshakable curiosity about the civilizations that came before us. What if everything we've been taught about history is missing crucial pieces? These sites suggest exactly that. From underground labyrinths carved with no clear purpose to towering structures aligned with celestial events we still don't fully comprehend, each location holds clues to a puzzle we've yet to solve. Think of the builders, people like you and me, but separated by thousands of years, who achieved feats that seem impossible even by today's standards. How did they do it? What were they trying to tell us? The answers might lie buried in the stones, waiting for the right moment to be uncovered. This isn't just a list of forgotten places, it's an invitation to explore the edges of human knowledge. Some of these sites are shrouded in local legends, spoken of in hushed tones by those who live nearby. Others are so remote or so well hidden that they've only been discovered by accident. But one thing unites them all: they refuse to give up their secrets easily. As we delve into each mystery, you'll find yourself questioning what you thought you knew about the past, and perhaps even glimpsing the untold stories that could rewrite history itself. So, are you ready to step into the unknown? Let's begin. The legend of Atlantis begins with the ancient Greek philosopher Plato, who first described it in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias around 360 BC. He wrote of a powerful island nation, advanced beyond its time, that vanished beneath the waves in a single day and night of catastrophe. But was Atlantis real, or just a cautionary tale about the dangers of hubris? For centuries, scholars have debated its existence, sparking expeditions and theories that stretch from the Mediterranean to the Caribbean. Some believe Plato's story was inspired by real events, perhaps the catastrophic eruption of Thera around 1600 BC, which devastated the Minoan civilization on nearby Crete. Others point to the Richat structure in Mauritania, a massive circular formation visible from space, as a possible match for Plato's description. And then there are those who think Atlantis lies hidden beneath Antarctica or was swallowed by the Bermuda Triangle. Modern technology has only deepened the mystery. Sonar scans have revealed underwater ruins off the coasts of Cuba and Japan, while satellite imagery uncovers strange geometric patterns beneath shallow waters worldwide. Yet no definitive proof has emerged. The allure of Atlantis isn't just about finding a lost city. It's about uncovering a forgotten chapter of human history, one that might rewrite everything we know about ancient civilizations. Local legends from the Azores to the Canary Islands speak of a great flood that consumed an advanced society, echoing Plato's tale. Even today, explorers comb the ocean floor, hoping to stumble upon the elusive proof that could finally solve this age-old riddle. Until then, Atlantis remains a shadow at the edge of history, taunting us with the possibility that our past might be far more extraordinary than we ever imagined. Rising from the rolling plains of southern England, Stonehenge stands as one of humanity's most enduring puzzles. This ring of massive stones, some weighing as much as 25 tons, was hauled over distances of more than 150 miles, an unimaginable feat for a society without wheels or metal tools. How did Neolithic people accomplish this? The answer remains as elusive as the monument's true purpose. What makes Stonehenge even more remarkable are its celestial alignments. During the summer solstice, the rising sun perfectly frames the heel stone, casting a beam of light into the heart of the circle. The winter solstice sunset aligns with another keystone, suggesting the site functioned as a precise astronomical calendar. But was it solely an ancient observatory or something far more profound? Some theories propose it was a sacred healing site, pointing to blue stones from Wales that may have been believed to possess curative properties. Others argue it served as a burial ground, with human remains dating back 5,000 years found nearby. The mystery deepens when we consider the builders' techniques. Without written records, we're left to piece together clues from archaeology and experimentation. Modern attempts to replicate Stonehenge's construction using only primitive tools have proven grueling, often failing to match the precision of the original. The stone's joints fit together with mortise and tenon carpentry techniques, an innovation far ahead of its time. Even more baffling is the recent discovery of hidden pits surrounding the site, arranged in a vast cosmic pattern that hints at rituals we can only guess at. Local folklore adds another layer of intrigue. Medieval legends claimed the stones were magically transported by the wizard Merlin, while earlier myths spoke of giants dancing in a circle until turned to stone by the morning sun. These stories, though fantastical, reflect the awe Stonehenge has inspired for millennia. Today, as laser scans reveal hidden carvings and groundwater surveys uncover undiscovered tunnels, one thing is clear: this ancient marvel still has secrets to share. Every new discovery peels back another layer, proving that some mysteries only grow deeper with time. Etched into the arid plains of southern Peru, the Nazca Lines stretch across nearly 200 square miles of desert like a giant sketchbook left open under the sun. These enormous geoglyphs, some stretching over 1,200 feet long, depict spiders, hummingbirds, monkeys, and geometric shapes so precise they can only be fully appreciated from the air. How did a culture without flight create designs meant to be seen from above? This paradox has fueled theories ranging from the scholarly to the spectacular. Among the most persistent myths is the idea that extraterrestrials guided the Nazca people, using the lines as landing strips or celestial messages. Proponents point to the seemingly impossible precision of the figures, arguing that ancient humans lacked the technology to plot such vast, unerring designs. Some even claim the spider glyph mirrors the Orion constellation, suggesting star maps meant for otherworldly visitors, but archaeologists have repeatedly debunked these claims. Simple tools like wooden stakes and ropes, combined with meticulous surveying techniques, could achieve these feats, as demonstrated by modern researchers recreating the lines using only methods available to the Nazca between 200 B.C. and 600 A.D. Scholars propose far more grounded explanations tied to water worship and astronomy. The desert receives less than an inch of rain annually, making groundwater a sacred lifeline. Many lines converge on ancient wells, hinting at ritual pathways for processions. Others align with solstice sunrises or the cyclical appearance of constellations linked to agriculture. A particularly compelling theory suggests the glyphs were walked as devotional acts, their creation as important as their final form. The endurance of the lines, preserved for millennia by the region's windless climate, speaks to their cultural weight. Yet the allure of mystery persists. Why choose such colossal scales? Why depict a killer whale in a desert hundreds of miles from the ocean? Even the most rigorous academic debates leave room for wonder. Modern drones have uncovered over 150 new glyphs in recent years, proving we've barely scratched the surface of what the Nazca left behind. Whether sacred art, astronomical calendar, or something beyond our current understanding, these lines remain a testament to humanity's endless drive to reach for the inexplicable. The contrast between wild speculation and painstaking research mirrors a deeper truth about how we engage with the past. Sometimes the most extraordinary answers lie not in alien intervention, but in the quiet brilliance of ancient minds solving problems we're only beginning to comprehend. The Nazca didn't need spacecraft to imagine the sky. They simply looked up and left their dreams in the dust for us to find. Hidden away in the vaults of Yale University's Voynich Library lies a book that has defied every attempt to understand it, the Voynich Manuscript. Named after the Polish book dealer who acquired it in 1912, this 240-page medieval codex is filled with looping, alien script and illustrations so bizarre they seem pulled from a dream. Plants with impossible roots, nude women bathing in emerald green pools, and celestial diagrams unlike any known astronomical system, every page radiates an aura of deliberate mystery. For over a century, cryptographers, linguists, and even wartime codebreakers have tried and failed to crack its cipher. The manuscript's text flows with the rhythm of a real language, complete with repeating word patterns and syntax, yet it matches no known alphabet or linguistic structure. Some scholars argue it's an elaborate hoax, possibly crafted by 16th-century occultist Edward Kelly to swindle royalty. Others propose it's a lost language or a forgotten form of shorthand, its meaning obscured by time. A tantalizing theory suggests it encodes an extinct Mesoamerican dialect, pointing to illustrations resembling New World flora like sunflowers and chili peppers. Plants unknown in Europe when the manuscript's vellum was carbon dated to the early 15th century. Recent technological advances have only deepened the enigma. Artificial intelligence analysis in 2018 identified Hebrew as the most likely linguistic match, but attempts to translate yielded gibberish. Microscopic analysis revealed tiny corrections in the ink, suggesting the scribe understood what they were writing, while the illustration's precise biological details hint at a genuine scientific or medicinal purpose. Perhaps most haunting is the manuscript's astrology section, where fold-out pages depict swirling constellations that don't align with any known celestial maps. Are they symbolic, fictional, or records of a cosmic event lost to history? Even the book's provenance is a riddle it resurfaces in 17th-century Prague, owned by Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf Roman II, who allegedly paid 600 gold ducats for it, a king's ransom for an unreadable book. Today, as high-resolution scans allow global crowdsourcing of decryption efforts, the Voynich Manuscript remains a Rorschach test for the curious. Its pages invite us to project our own theories onto their emptiness, a mirror reflecting not just the limits of medieval knowledge, but the boundaries of our own understanding. Stretching between Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico lies a swath of ocean that has become synonymous with the unexplained, the Bermuda Triangle. For decades, this region has been blamed for the disappearance of ships and planes under circumstances that seem to defy logic. From the vanishing of Flight 19 in 1945, a squadron of 5 U.S. Navy bombers that vanished without a trace, to the eerie case of the SS Marine Sulphur Queen, a tanker that disappeared in 1963 with no distress call, the stories have fueled speculation about supernatural forces at work. But science offers far more grounded explanations. One leading theory points to massive methane gas bubbles rising from the ocean floor, capable of reducing water density so drastically that ships lose buoyancy and sink within seconds. Experiments have shown these bubbles can even disrupt aircraft by altering air density, causing engines to fail or instruments to malfunction. Another plausible factor is the area's erratic magnetic fields, which can interfere with compasses and navigation systems, leading pilots and sailors dangerously off course. Add to that the region's unpredictable weather, sudden storms and rogue waves, and it becomes clear why this patch of ocean has such a notorious reputation. Yet for every case with a scientific explanation, there are others that still puzzle experts. Why did the crew of the Mary Celeste, found adrift in 1872, abandon a perfectly seaworthy ship? Why do some disappearances leave no debris, as if vessels were plucked from the sea by an invisible hand? even modern technology struggles to account for every incident, leaving room for theories about underwater anomalies or even time warps, though these remain firmly in the realm of speculation. What's often overlooked is how the Bermuda Triangle's mythos has been amplified by sensationalism. Statistically, the area sees no more disappearances than other heavily trafficked shipping lanes. Many mysteries have been debunked as human error or exaggerated accounts, but the allure of the unknown persists, proving that sometimes the stories we tell about a place are just as powerful as the facts. Whether viewed as a zone of scientific curiosity or a cautionary tale about the sea's unpredictable nature, the Bermuda Triangle reminds us that some corners of our planet still resist easy explanation. Standing tall against the sands of time, the Great Pyramids of Giza have refused to surrender their secrets for over 4,500 years. These colossal structures, built with millions of limestone blocks weighing up to 80 tons each, were assembled with such precision that a credit card can't slip between the stones. How did an ancient civilization achieve this without modern machinery? The most accepted theory involves ramps, but not the simple straight inclines you might picture. Archaeologists now propose a spiraling internal ramp system, evidence for which was found in 1986 when a French team discovered unusual density patterns within the pyramid suggesting hidden passageways. Even more compelling are the recent muon scans revealing vast, undiscovered chambers above the Grand Gallery, spaces untouched for millennia that might finally explain how workers transported materials to such impossible heights. Yet the pyramids are only half the story. Across the Pacific, the massive stone moai of Easter Island stare silently from their coastal perches, their creation equally baffling. Carved from volcanic rock between 1200 and 1600 AD, these statues average 13 feet tall and weigh 14 tons, some reaching a staggering 80 tons. For years, researchers assumed the island's collapse came from ecological ruin, triggered by the tribe's obsession with statue building, but newer studies tell a different tale. Oral histories describe the moai walking to their platforms, a clue that led archaeologists to test a rocking method, teams using ropes to sway the statues forward in a motion resembling a human stride. Experiments proved it was possible, challenging the long-held belief that deforestation from log rolling caused societal collapse. What truly doomed Easter Island may have been European contact and rat infestations that destroyed vital crops. The contrast between these two marvels is striking. The pyramids represent a civilization at its peak, leveraging vast resources and centralized power. The moai tell a story of isolation, ingenuity, and eventual fragility. Both achievements push us to reconsider what ancient societies were capable of, whether it's the pyramid builders aligning their structures to within a fraction of a degree of true north, or Rapa Nui's inhabitants moving monuments across miles of rugged terrain with nothing but rope and determination. Hidden chambers beneath the Sphinx and newly discovered moai buried in Easter Island's quarry remind us that these sites are still actively giving up their secrets. With each technological breakthrough, from ground-penetrating radar to three-dimensional mapping, we peel back another layer of the impossible. Perhaps the greatest lesson these ruins teach isn't about how they were built, but why. The human drive to create, to endure, and to leave a mark that outlasts even memory itself. The echoes of these ancient builders resonate in the questions we're still asking today. Were the pyramids' chambers designed as cosmic gateways, or were they practical solutions to engineering challenges we've yet to fully grasp? Did the moai's solemn faces represent ancestors, gods, or warnings of ecological limits? The stones won't speak, but their presence alone is a testament to civilizations that reached for greatness with nothing but their hands, their wisdom, and an unshakable will to shape the world around them. Off the fog-shrouded coast of Nova Scotia lies a small, unassuming island that has consumed fortunes and lives in pursuit of an elusive secret Oak Island and its infamous money pit. For over 200 years, treasure hunters have descended upon this patch of land, lured by tales of buried pirate gold, Templar artifacts, or even Shakespeare's lost manuscripts. The mystery begins in 1795, when a teenager named Daniel Maginnis stumbled upon a peculiar circular depression in the ground, its edges lined with flagstones and ancient oak logs. Beneath it lay a series of booby-trapped tunnels, flooding chambers, and cryptic stone markers, each layer revealing just enough to tempt explorers deeper into what might be the world's most elaborate treasure vault or its most devilish prank. Modern excavations have only intensified the intrigue. In 2014, radar scans detected a massive metal object, possibly a chest, buried over 100 feet below the surface. But every attempt to reach it has been thwarted by the pit's ingenious design. Tunnels from nearby Smith's Cove flood the shaft with seawater the moment drillers breach certain depths, a system so precise that some believe only master engineers like the Knights Templar could have built it. Others argue the pit is a natural sinkhole, its traps merely collapses from centuries of digging. Yet artifacts keep surfacing. A centuries-old Spanish copper coin, a scrap of parchment with inked letters, and even a human hand bone carbon dated to the 1600s, clues that refuse to fit neatly into any theory. Theories about the pit's origin split into competing camps. One faction insists it hides Captain Kidd's plundered riches, pointing to the pirates' rumored visits to Nova Scotia. Another connects it to the exiled Templars, who allegedly fled Europe with treasures like the Ark of the Covenant or the Holy Grail. A more mundane explanation suggests it was an early colonial tar kiln, repurposed by later dreamers into a legend. But the most haunting possibility, that the real treasure was the pit itself, a psychological trap that has ensnared generations in an endless chase. Recent digs by the Lagina brothers, stars of the History Channel's The Curse of Oak Island, have reignited public fascination. Their discoveries, from a medieval lead cross to a shaft lined with centuries-old coconut fibers, a material absent from native Canadian flora, hint at global connections. Yet the island guards its secrets fiercely, as if mocking our modern tools with riddles carved in wood and stone. Whether the Money Pit is a time capsule of lost history or history's greatest wild goose chase, one truth remains: it mirrors our own obsession with the unknown, proving that sometimes the hunt is just as compelling as the treasure. Scattered across the misty highlands of northern Laos lies a landscape that seems plucked from a giant's forgotten workshop, the Plain of Jars. Thousands of massive stone vessels, some towering nearly 10 feet tall and weighing several tons, dot the valleys in clusters that number in the hundreds. Carved from sandstone and granite between 500 B.C. and 500 A.D., these jars have stood silent for millennia, their purpose as enigmatic as the civilization that left them behind. Archaeologists have long debated their function, with the most widely accepted theory linking them to ancient burial practices. Excavations reveal human remains, burial goods, and ceramic fragments inside and around the jars, suggesting they may have served as funeral urns or part of a complex mortuary ritual. Some researchers propose a secondary use, collecting monsoon rainwater for trade caravans, turning the jars into way stations along ancient routes linking Southeast Asia to China and India. But the truth may be even more layered. Local legends speak of a race of giants who used the vessels to brew rice wine for victorious feasts, while others claim they held the ashes of fallen warriors from a mythical battle. Studying the jars has been fraught with danger. The region was heavily bombed during the Vietnam War, leaving vast areas littered with unexploded ordnance. To this day, only a handful of the 90 recorded jar sites have been cleared for safe exploration. Modern technology offers hope. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed buried lids matching the jar's rims, hinting at a sealing system that could preserve organic remains. Recent DNA analysis of sediment from inside the jars has identified traces of ancient proteins, possibly from decomposed bodies or ceremonial offerings. The craftsmanship itself raises questions. How were these jars transported from distant quarries without wheels or draft animals? Experiments using ropes and log rollers show it's possible, but the scale of labor involved suggests a highly organized society, one that left no written records or nearby settlements. Intriguingly, similar jars have been found in India's Assam region, hinting at a cultural exchange we're only beginning to trace. Each new discovery peels back another layer of mystery, proving that these silent sentinels of stone still have stories to tell. Whether vessels for the dead, markers of trade, or symbols of a lost belief system, the Plain of Jars stands as a testament to humanity's enduring drive to leave a mark, even when the meaning of that mark fades into the mists of time. Beneath the turquoise waters off Japan's Yonaguni Island lies a formation that has divided scientists for decades, the Yonaguni Monument. Discovered in 1986 by a diver searching for hammerhead shark habitats, this massive, terraced structure rises 80 feet from the ocean floor, its flat surfaces and sharp angles resembling an ancient stepped pyramid or plaza. The controversy begins with a simple question. Are we looking at the handiwork of nature or the ruins of a civilization swallowed by the sea 12,000 years ago? Marine geologists point to the region's frequent seismic activity, arguing that sandstone naturally fractures along straight plains, creating the monument's seemingly artificial edges. They note similar formations along Okinawa's coast, where wave erosion and tectonic shifts sculpted comparable geometric shapes. Skeptics highlight the absence of tool marks or construction debris, insisting the structure lacks definitive proof of human intervention. But dive deeper and the picture grows murkier. Symmetrical staircases, perfect 90-degree corners, and what appears to be a carved relief of a human face challenge purely geological explanations. Proponents of the man-made theory, like marine archaeologist Masaki Kimura, have mapped what they believe are roads, temples, and even a stadium surrounding the main structure. Kimura suggests the site matches descriptions of a lost Pacific civilization, possibly linked to the legend of Mu, a mythical continent said to have vanished beneath the waves. His team claims to have identified quarry marks and symbols resembling ancient scripts, though these findings remain hotly contested. Other researchers propose a middle ground, that natural formations were modified by humans, turning a striking rock formation into a sacred site. The debate takes a tantalizing turn when considering sea levels. 12,000 years ago, during the last ice age, Yonaguni would have been above water, coinciding with the timeline of early Jomon culture in Japan. Could these prehistoric people, known for their advanced pottery and stone tools, have built here, or does the monument's sheer scale, some terraces stretching 150 feet across, suggest an even older, unknown society? New discoveries keep the mystery alive. Sonar scans reveal what might be additional structures nearby, while divers recently uncovered a second, smaller formation with uncanny right angles. Yet without definitive artifacts, pottery, tools, or bones, the truth remains submerged in speculation. Whether a geological marvel or a relic of forgotten builders, the Yonaguni monument forces us to reconsider how easily the line between nature and human artistry can blur. It stands as a silent enigma, daring us to unravel its origins while the tides of debate continue to rise and fall. In the tangled forests of what is now North Carolina, a single word carved into a tree still haunts historians, Croatoan. It's the only clue left behind when the entire population of the Roanoke Colony vanished without a trace between 1587 and 1590. Leaving behind empty cabins, undisturbed personal belongings, and a mystery that has festered for over 4 centuries. John White, the governor who returned from a supply trip to England to find the settlement abandoned, discovered the word etched into a post of the fort, a deliberate message, yet one that raises more questions than answers. Theories about the settlers' fate split into 2 camps. The first suggests peaceful assimilation with the Croatoan tribe. a group of Native Americans living on what is now Hatteras Island. Archaeological digs on the island have turned up European artifacts, a signet ring, sword hilts, and even fragments of English pottery, mixed with indigenous tools hinting at cultural exchange. Some researchers point to later reports from Jamestown colonists of gray-eyed natives claiming descent from white ancestors, potentially supporting this integration theory. The Croatoan themselves passed down oral histories of welcoming outsiders, adding weight to the idea that the settlers simply abandoned their struggling colony to join a more sustainable way of life. But darker interpretations linger. Early 17th century accounts from neighboring tribes speak of violent clashes with a group matching the colonists' description. One Powhatan leader allegedly confessed to massacring the Roanoke settlers, though this claim was made decades later under questionable circumstances. Others speculate that Spanish raiders who had already scouted the region might have eliminated the English outpost to prevent competition. The lack of human remains, however, undermines these grimmer scenarios. If violence occurred, why were no bodies ever found? The scarcity of hard evidence only fuels the mystery. Soil erosion and centuries of development have erased potential clues, while the colonists' own lack of record-keeping white maps were famously incomplete, leaves gaping holes in the historical record. Modern technology offers glimmers of hope. Ground-penetrating radar and LiDAR surveys have identified potential sites near Hatteras that could hold answers, but funding and preservation challenges slow progress. Perhaps the most haunting question isn't where the settlers went, but why their disappearance captivates us so deeply. Roanoke represents more than a historical cold case, it's a parable about fragility. These were ordinary people, not explorers or soldiers, who sailed into the unknown with dreams of a fresh start. Their vanishing acts as a mirror, reflecting our own fears of isolation, failure, and the unsettling truth that even the most carefully laid plans can evaporate into the wilderness. Every unearthed artifact, every reinterpreted document, brings us closer to understanding not just what happened at Roanoke, but why we're still desperate to know. Found in the wreckage of a 2,000-year-old Roman cargo ship off the coast of Greece, the Antikythera mechanism shatters our assumptions about ancient technological capabilities. This intricate bronze device, no larger than a shoebox, contains over 30 interlocking gears, some with teeth so tiny they could fit on a fingernail. When researchers first discovered it in 1901, they mistook it for a navigational tool. It wasn't until decades later, with the help of X-ray imaging, that the truth emerged. This was an analog computer capable of predicting celestial events with staggering precision, centuries before similar devices appeared in medieval Europe. What makes the mechanism truly revolutionary is its ability to model the irregular motions of the moon. Using a sophisticated pin and slot system, it accounted for lunar anomalies like elliptical orbits, something far beyond the simple astronomical models of its time. The front dial displayed the Greek zodiac and Egyptian calendar, while the back featured spiral tracks predicting eclipses and tracking the 4-year cycle of ancient athletic games. This wasn't just a tool for stargazers, it was a microcosm of the ancient world's scientific ambitions, compressing the cosmos into a hand-cranked masterpiece. The burning question remains, why have we found only one? Some scholars argue that such devices were rare treasures commissioned for elite scholars or temples. Others suggest most were melted down for their bronze, their true purpose forgotten as the Roman Empire crumbled. A tantalizing clue comes from Cicero's writings, which describe a similar machine built by Archimedes, hinting that the Antikythera mechanism might represent a lost tradition of Greek mechanical engineering. Modern reconstructions prove the device wasn't a fluke. Teams using period-appropriate tools have recreated its gears, demonstrating that Hellenistic craftsmen had both the mathematical knowledge and technical skill to produce these marvels. Yet the absence of other examples lingers like a ghost in the historical record. perhaps future deep-sea explorations will uncover more lying forgotten amidst other shipwrecks. Until then, the Antikythera mechanism stands alone, a whisper from the past reminding us that human ingenuity has always reached further than we dare to imagine. This unassuming lump of corroded metal challenges the linear narrative of technological progress. How many other breakthroughs were lost to time, their inventors' names erased by war or decay? The mechanism's very existence suggests that our ancestors' brilliance might have flickered in ways we're only beginning to comprehend. It's not just an artifact, it's a puzzle box holding secrets about what ancient civilizations truly understood and how close they came to steering history down a profoundly different path. In the rolling hills of southeastern Turkey, a discovery so startling it rewrote human history lies half buried in the earth. Gobekli Tepe. This sprawling complex of stone circles, carved with intricate animal reliefs and towering T-shaped pillars, predates Stonehenge by 6,000 years and the pyramids by 7,000. What makes it truly revolutionary? It was built before agriculture, before pottery, before permanent settlements, by nomadic hunter-gatherers who supposedly lacked the organization for such monumental projects. The pillars, some weighing over 16 tons, were quarried from bedrock miles away and erected with precision that would challenge modern engineers. How did people without wheels or metal tools achieve this? The answer might lie in the site's apparent purpose. Unlike later temples tied to cities, Gobekli Tepe seems to have been a ritual center drawing scattered tribes together. Its construction may have been the spark that ignited civilization itself, not as a consequence of farming, but as its cause. The need to feed workers building these shrines could have driven the first experiments with domesticating wheat found wild in the surrounding hills. Just 300 miles northwest, another Turkish marvel whispers of humanity's adaptability during Kuyu, an entire city carved vertically into volcanic rock, descending 18 stories beneath the earth. Built between 700 and 1000 AD, by Byzantine Christians fleeing persecution, this subterranean labyrinth could shelter 20,000 people for months. Ventilation shafts ensured fresh air reached even the lowest chambers, while massive stone doors, each weighing up to half a ton, could seal off the city from invaders. But why go underground? The region's soft tuffstone made excavation easier than building fortifications above ground, and the constant 55-degree temperature provided natural climate control. What's most striking are the communal kitchens, wineries, chapels, and even livestock pens, proof this wasn't just a hideout but a functioning society. The contrast between these sites is profound. Gobekli Tepe represents humanity's first attempt to reach for the divine, altering the landscape to make meaning of the cosmos. Kuyu reflects our instinct to survive, turning the earth itself into a fortress against chaos. One site predates civilization as we know it, while the other emerged from civilization's fractures. Yet both share a common thread: the extraordinary lengths humans will go to preserve what matters most, whether it's faith, community, or simply the will to endure. Modern technology continues to unveil their secrets. Ground-penetrating radar suggests Gobekli Tepe had 20 concentric circles, only 5 have been excavated. In Kuyu, newly discovered tunnels hint at connections to other underground cities, potentially forming a network spanning hundreds of miles. As archaeologists peel back more layers, these Turkish wonders remind us that history isn't a straight line, but a tapestry of ingenuity woven in stone, both above and below the ground we walk on. Deep in the scorching heart of Death Valley, where temperatures soar past 120 degrees and the cracked earth stretches endlessly under the sun, something impossible happens. Rocks move on their own. These sailing stones, some weighing hundreds of pounds, carve long, meandering tracks across the flat expanse of racetrack playa, leaving behind trails that look as if they were dragged by unseen hands. For over a century, this phenomenon defied explanation, fueling theories ranging from magnetic anomalies to pranksters with too much time on their hands. The mystery finally unraveled in 2014 when researchers armed with time-lapse cameras and GPS sensors caught the stones in action, the secret. A rare recipe of rain, ice, and wind. During winter nights, shallow ponds form on the playa, freezing into thin sheets that fracture under the desert sun. When sunlight melts the ice, wind pushes these floating panels, some as thin as window glass, across the muddy surface, nudging the rocks at speeds barely perceptible to the human eye. The phenomenon requires precise conditions, enough water to form ice but not so much that it drowns the stones, wind strong enough to move the ice but gentle enough not to topple the rocks. It's a fleeting dance of physics, visible only when nature's elements align perfectly. Yet even with this elegant explanation, oddities persist. Why do some stones travel in straight lines while others zigzag or loop back on themselves? Why do certain rocks move in tandem as if choreographed while others stay stubbornly still? Some trails stretch over half a mile, far longer than typical ice sheets could account for. And then there's the curious case of the Grandaddy boulder, a 700-pound behemoth that somehow slid over 800 feet, a distance that still puzzles geologists. Local rangers whisper about microburst winds, sudden, powerful gusts unique to desert basins. That might explain the more extreme movements. Others point to the playa's unique clay surface, which becomes slicker than ice when wet, potentially allowing even heavier rocks to glide with minimal force. But the most haunting question isn't how the stones move, it's why they sometimes vanish entirely. A few of the most famous sailing stones have disappeared without a trace, leaving researchers to wonder if they were stolen, sank into the mud, or simply rolled away when no one was watching. Death Valley's sailing stones are a reminder that even solved mysteries can hold onto fragments of wonder. They challenge our instinct to file nature's oddities neatly into boxes labeled "Explained." For every camera-captured ice shove, there's a trail that defies logic, a rock that moved when it shouldn't have, or a path that spirals like a question mark etched into the earth. The playa's silence guards these secrets well, proving that some answers only lead to deeper, more tantalizing questions. High in the mist-wrapped cliffs of the Philippine Cordillera Mountains, a haunting sight clings to the limestone rows of wooden coffins, some weathered by centuries, suspended on sheer rock faces or wedged into crevices. These are the hanging coffins of Sagada, an ancient burial tradition practiced by the Igorot people where the dead quite literally rest between earth and sky. Unlike tombs hidden underground, these coffins defy gravity, placed deliberately in places so inaccessible that even seasoned climbers hesitate to approach them. The process itself was as remarkable as the result. Before death, elders often carved their own coffins from hollowed-out logs, a ritual ensuring their final vessel met exact standards. After death, the body was smoked over a fire for weeks, not only to preserve it but to shrink its size, allowing it to fit snugly inside the coffin. Then came the perilous ascent. Mourners, often family members, would scale the cliffs using ropes and rattan ladders, hauling the coffin behind them. The higher the placement, the greater the honor, as elevation was believed to bring the deceased closer to ancestral spirits. Some coffins were stacked in natural caves, while others dangled from wooden beams hammered directly into the rock, swaying gently in the mountain winds like macabre wind chimes. But why choose such an arduous burial? The Igorot saw these cliffs as sacred spaces, safe from floods and wild animals, a practical solution in a region prone to monsoons. Yet spirituality wove just as deeply into the tradition. Hanging coffins prevented the dead from being claimed by the earth, allowing their souls to roam freely and watch over the living. Disturbing these resting places was and remains strictly forbidden. Locals speak of curses befalling those who disrespect the coffins, from sudden illnesses to freak accidents. Even today, when a coffin crumbles and falls, no one dares touch the bones without elaborate rituals to appease the spirits. Modernity has eroded parts of the practice. Fewer elders opt for cliff burials, with many now choosing cemeteries, but Sagada's oldest coffins endure, their wood darkened by time, some bearing intricate carvings of lizards or snakes, symbols of longevity and protection. Researchers using carbon dating estimate certain coffins may be over 2,000 years old, suggesting the tradition predates Spanish colonization by centuries. What's most striking isn't just the defiance of physics, but the intimacy of these burials. Unlike monolithic pyramids or hidden catacombs, each coffin tells a personal story. A father who carved his coffin while teaching his son to weave, a grandmother whose smoked remains were carried up the cliffs by her grandchildren. The cliffs don't just hold bodies, they cradle generations of love, duty, and belief. As sunlight filters through the mountain mist, glinting off worn wood, the hanging coffins whisper a truth both simple and profound, that how we lay our dead to rest reveals just as much about the living as it does about those who have gone before. Rising from the savannah like a mirage of stone, the ruins of Great Zimbabwe stand as a testament to Africa's forgotten architects. For centuries, European colonizers spun wild tales about this sprawling complex of granite walls and conical towers, claiming it must have been built by Phoenicians, Arabs, or even the Queen of Sheba. The truth, revealed by archaeology, is far more extraordinary. This was the heart of a thriving Shona kingdom between the 11th and 15th centuries, a hub of gold and ivory trade that stretched from the Swahili coast to China. The very name Zimbabwe derives from the Shona phrase Dizimba Dizie Mabwe, meaning houses of stone, a deliberate celebration of local craftsmanship that colonial narratives tried desperately to erase. At its peak, Great Zimbabwe housed 18,000 people within its 800-acre expanse. The crown jewel is the Great Enclosure, a wall 30 feet high and 17 feet thick, built without mortar yet so precisely fitted that not even a blade of grass can slip between the stones. Inside, a mysterious conical tower rises 30 feet, its purpose still debated. Was it a grain silo, a symbol of royal authority, or an astronomical marker aligned with solstices? The ruins whisper of sophisticated urban planning, drainage systems, terraced farming, and evidence of blacksmithing so advanced that Portuguese traders later mistook Zimbabwean steel for European imports. The city's wealth came from its golden connections. Artifacts found here include Persian pottery, Arabian glass, and Ming Dynasty ceramics, proof of trade networks spanning oceans. But by the mid-15th century, this powerhouse was abandoned. Climate data suggests a prolonged drought may have forced the population to disperse, while others argue political shifts or depleted gold mines played a role. The most compelling clue comes from oral histories. The Shona people speak of a sacred fire that burned continuously at Great Zimbabwe until it was extinguished, signaling the end of an era. What makes Great Zimbabwe's story so vital isn't just its architectural brilliance, but the way its legacy was systematically distorted. Colonial looters dynamited parts of the ruins in search of non-existent Phoenician treasure, while racist scholars insisted Africans couldn't have built such marvels. Only in the 1950s did radiocarbon dating confirm the Shona origins, forcing the world to confront its biases. Today, as Zimbabwe's national emblem featured on flags and currency, the ruins stand as both a monument and a corrective, reminding us that history's silence is often not an accident, but a deliberate erasure waiting to be undone. The mystery of its decline lingers, but perhaps that's fitting. Great Zimbabwe refuses to be fully explained, just as it refused to be claimed by outsiders. Its stones endure not as a ruin, but as a rebellion, an unshakable testament to a civilization that shaped its own destiny, then stepped into the shadows on its own terms. Deep in the Siberian wilderness, where the taiga forest stretches unbroken for thousands of miles, a geological oddity rises from the earth like a ruined fortress, the Potemsky crater. First documented in 1949 by geologist Vadim Kolpakov, This massive cone-shaped depression measures 520 feet across and 130 feet tall, its slopes wooded with stunted larches that seem to recoil from the crater's eerie center. What makes it truly baffling isn't just its appearance, a near-perfect ring of shattered limestone blocks surrounding a smaller mound at its heart, but the fact that no one can agree on what created it. The meteorite theory once dominated scientific discussions. The crater's shape resembles smaller impact sites, and early expeditions found traces of magnetic anomalies beneath it, hinting at buried metallic debris. But deeper investigations revealed a problem: no meteorite fragments, no telltale shocked quartz, and no radiation spikes typical of cosmic collisions. Then came the gas explosion hypothesis. Siberia sits atop vast methane reserves, and some geologists propose that a pocket of natural gas ignited beneath the surface, blasting upward like a subterranean cannon shot. Supporting this, nearby areas experience mysterious underground booms, and soil tests show elevated levels of helium, a gas often linked to deep earth fissures. Yet even this theory falters when faced with the crater's precise structure. Natural gas explosions tend to leave chaotic scars, not symmetrical mounds with nested central peaks. Indigenous Evenki hunters have their own explanation, passed down through generations long before Kolpakov stumbled upon the site. They call it the Fire Eagle's Nest, a place where a mythical bird of flame once descended to earth, its talons scorching the land into this unnatural bowl. Local law warns against approaching the crater, citing disappearances of hunters and livestock over the years. Modern science initially dismissed these stories until expeditions in the 2000s reported erratic compass behavior, sudden equipment failures, and a persistent metallic taste in the air around the rim. The most chilling detail emerged in 2005 when researchers drilled into the central mound. Just 200 feet down, they hit an impenetrable metallic object, not a meteorite's nickel-iron blend, but something denser with composition readings that baffled instruments. The drill bit snapped and funding ran out before further tests could be done. Since then, the crater has resisted every attempt at definitive explanation, its secrets locked beneath permafrost and legend. Whether cosmic accident, geological fluke, or something beyond current understanding, the Potemsky crater stands as a reminder that even in our age of satellites and sensors, the Earth still holds pockets of uncharted mystery. Its silent slopes seem to whisper a challenge: come, measure, theorize, but know that some riddles refuse to surrender their answers. Cut into the sandstone hills of Zhejiang province, the Longyu caves form a subterranean labyrinth so vast and precise that their discovery in 1992 stunned archaeologists. 24 hand-carved caverns stretch across 30,000 square meters, each chamber supported by massive pillars and adorned with chisel marks so uniform they resemble machine work. The scale defies logic. An estimated 1 million cubic meters of rock were removed, yet not a single historical record, tool fragment, or even a folk tale mentions their construction. Who could have built such a place, and why would something so monumental vanish from memory? The cave's engineering borders on supernatural. Walls slope at exact 60-degree angles, meeting ceilings with flawless symmetry, while a series of raised ridges almost like acoustic guides line the floors. Some chambers contain pools arranged in patterns that mirror constellations, while others feature carved symbols resembling ancient petroglyphs, but the most baffling detail. The entire complex appears to have been dug from the top down, a method requiring impossible foresight, as workers couldn't see the emerging spaces below. Modern engineers estimate it would take 1,000 laborers working day and night for 6 years to replicate just one cave using primitive tools. Yet radiocarbon dating places their origin around 2,200 years ago during the Western Han Dynasty, a period with no known technology for such precise underground work. Theories about their purpose range from the practical to the esoteric. Some scholars suggest they were quarries, though the absence of rubble or transport routes undermines this. Others propose secret military storage, pointing to the cave's stable humidity and temperature ideal for preserving supplies. More intriguing are links to ancient Chinese water control systems. Certain chambers align with old riverbeds, hinting at flood diversion projects. But why decorate a utilitarian space with intricate carvings? Local legends offer cryptic clues. Elderly villagers speak of a golden mountain that once hummed with activity, though no one recalls what transpired there. A 15th century text briefly mentions singing caves where echoes sounded like chanting monks, but provides no further details. Modern researchers have noted strange acoustics. Whispers in one chamber can be heard clearly 50 meters away, suggesting the builders understood sound wave physics long before its formal study. Perhaps the most haunting possibility is that the caves were never meant to be remembered. Unlike pyramids or temples, these tunnels conceal their grandeur beneath the earth, their true significance known only to those who carved them. With no inscriptions or artifacts left behind, the Longyu Caves stand as a riddle carved in stone, a deliberate mystery meant to outlast empires, religions, and time itself, waiting for an answer that may never come. Shrouded in the amber glow of Rajasthan's desert sun, the ruins of Bhangarh Fort tell a story no guidebook dares to fully recount. Built in the 1600s, this sprawling complex of temples and palaces now stands eerily empty, its crumbling archways and overgrown courtyards sealed off by government decree after sunset. The warning sign at its entrance leaves no room for misunderstanding. Entering this area before dawn or after dusk is strictly prohibited. Locals swear the prohibition isn't just bureaucratic, it's a matter of survival. According to legend, a royal magician named Singhia fell in love with the fort's princess, cursing the entire kingdom when she rejected his advances. His dying words promised that Bhangarh's walls would collapse at night, crushing all who remained inside. Those who have ignored the curfew tell of disembodied screams, shadowy figures scaling walls with unnatural agility, and a pervasive sense of being watched. Paranormal investigators have recorded sudden temperature drops and electronic voice phenomena. One chilling recording seems to whisper, "Leave now," in a dialect not spoken for centuries. Across continents and centuries, another island of despair floats silently in Venice's lagoon Poveglia, a place so haunted even seasoned fishermen avoid its shores. What began as a quarantine station for plague victims in the 1700s, where over 100,000 souls were burned in mass graves, morphed into an asylum for the mentally ill in the 1920s. Here, a sadistic doctor allegedly conducted lobotomies and torturous experiments before hurling himself from the bell tower, his final moments marked by screams of unseen tormentors. Today, the tower's rusted bell still rings on windless nights, and visitors report the scent of charred flesh near the abandoned hospital's crumbling crematorium. Italian paranormal teams have documented spectral figures in period clothing wandering the overgrown fields, while thermal imaging reveals phantom heat signatures in rooms that have been empty for decades. Unlike Bhangarh, Poveglia's horror stems not from a single curse, but from layers of suffering compacted like geological strata, each era of misery leaving its own imprint on the island's fractured psyche. Both sites share an unsettling duality, places of beauty by day, where sunlight softens the edges of decay, and realms of terror by night, when the past seems to bleed into the present. Bhangarh's ornate carvings and Poveglia's picturesque views mask their true nature as nexuses of unresolved anguish. Yet where Bhangarh's curse feels like a contained folktale, Poveglia's horror is epidemiological, its trauma multiplied by the countless untold stories buried beneath its soil. One offers the cautionary chill of a morality tale, the other the visceral dread of history's darkest chapters repeating in whispers after dark. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, these places share an uncanny power. the ability to make even skeptics hesitate at their thresholds, sensing the weight of centuries pressing against the fragile barrier between then and now. Beneath the waves of the Arabian Sea, off the coast of modern-day Gujarat, lies a discovery that bridges myth and reality: the sunken city of Dwarka. According to ancient Hindu texts like the Mahabharata and Puranas, Dwarka was a magnificent metropolis built by Lord Krishna himself, a city of gold and emerald that sank into the ocean after his departure from this world. For centuries, these accounts were dismissed as allegory until marine archaeologists began uncovering structures that matched the descriptions with uncanny precision. The underwater ruins, discovered in the 1980s, stretch over half a mile and include massive stone blocks, pillars, and geometric formations resembling city walls and fortifications. Some of these structures lie just 60 feet below the surface, their surfaces eroded by centuries of tides, but their outlines unmistakably deliberate. The most compelling find, a stone slab engraved with an ancient script, potentially linking the site to descriptions of Dwarka's Grand Gateway. Carbon dating of artifacts pulled from the seabed, including pottery shards and marine-encrusted tools, suggests human activity in the area as early as 1500 BC, aligning with traditional timelines for Krishna's kingdom. Yet the debate rages on. Geologists argue that tectonic shifts could have submerged natural rock formations, their angular shapes carved by currents rather than hands. Skeptics point to the lack of definitive artifacts, no inscriptions naming the city, no carvings of Krishna or his symbols, but proponents counter with the sheer scale of the ruins. The stones show clear signs of tool marks, and their arrangement follows patterns seen in other Indus Valley cities, hinting at advanced urban planning. Even more intriguing are the ancient anchors found scattered across the site, suggesting Dwarka was once a bustling port, just as the texts describe. Local fishermen have long spoken of Krishna's city, glimpsed through unusually clear water, their nets sometimes snagging on structures too regular to be random. Modern sonar scans reveal even more extensive ruins farther offshore, waiting to be explored. Whether these submerged walls are the remnants of a legendary kingdom or an elaborate geological coincidence, they force us to reconsider how much truth might linger in ancient myths. The ocean guards its secrets fiercely, but each artifact pulled from Dwarka's depths whispers the same tantalizing question. What if the stories we call legends are simply history, waiting for the right tide to reveal them? In the quiet farmlands of Elbert County, Georgia, a towering granite structure once stood like a modern-day Stonehenge, the Georgia Guidestones. Erected in 1980 under mysterious circumstances, this 20-foot-tall monument bore 10 commandments etched in 8 different languages, offering guidance for humanity in the aftermath of an unspecified catastrophe. But these weren't your typical moral precepts. The first directive alone: maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature, sparked global controversy, igniting debates about population control and who, if anyone, had the right to dictate such a future. The Guidestones' origins were as cryptic as their message. A man using the pseudonym R.C. Christian commissioned the monument, claiming to represent a group of Americans who wished to remain anonymous. Working with a local granite company, he provided exact specifications, including astronomical alignments that marked the solstices and equinoxes, much like ancient megalithic sites. But why the secrecy? Conspiracy theorists speculated about shadowy elites or apocalyptic cults, while skeptics dismissed it as an elaborate art project. The truth died with Christian, whose real identity remains unknown, leaving the stones to speak for themselves when they still could. In a twist worthy of a thriller, the Guidestones met a dramatic end. On a summer morning in 2022, explosions rocked the site, reducing part of the structure to rubble. Security footage captured a lone car fleeing the scene, but the perpetrators were never identified. Days later, crews demolished the rest, citing safety concerns. Was this vandalism an act of protest or something more calculated? The timing raised eyebrows. The destruction came amid rising tensions over the monument's more divisive commandments, like guide reproduction wisely improving fitness and diversity, which some interpreted as eugenics adjacent. Others saw the attack as censorship, a silencing of uncomfortable ideas. What lingers isn't just the mystery of who built the guidestones or who destroyed them, but the unsettling relevance of their message. In an age of climate crises and resource scarcity, the stone's emphasis on balance with nature feels prophetic to some, dystopian to others. The surviving fragments now sit in storage, their future uncertain. Whether you viewed them as a warning, a manifesto, or an oddity, their absence leaves a void, a reminder that the most provocative monuments aren't always the ones that endure, but the ones that force us to question what we're building toward. The guidestones dared to imagine a post-collapse world, and in doing so became casualties of our own polarized era. Their story isn't just about granite and cryptic messages. It's about who gets to shape the narrative of survival and what happens when those visions clash. In the quiet corners of Michigan's history, a collection of strange artifacts once promised to rewrite the story of the ancient Americas, the so-called Michigan relics. Discovered in the late 1800s by a farmer plowing his field, these clay tablets, copper tools, and slate slabs bore inscriptions resembling ancient Hebrew, Egyptian hieroglyphs, and even cuneiform. At first glance, they seemed to suggest that Near Eastern travelers had reached North America long before Columbus, their messages carved into Michigan's soil for posterity. But almost as soon as they surfaced, skepticism followed. Were these genuine traces of transatlantic contact or an elaborate hoax designed to fool historians? The relic's authenticity crumbled under scrutiny. Experts noted glaring inconsistencies. The ancient Hebrew mixed modern grammatical errors, while the cuneiform borrowed symbols from different time periods and regions, creating a linguistic Frankenstein. Even more damning was the discovery that many artifacts had been found by the same small group of individuals, all connected to a local preacher with a flair for the dramatic. By the early 1900s, most archaeologists dismissed the relics as clever forgeries, possibly crafted to attract attention or even fuel Mormon theological claims about ancient migrations to the Americas. Yet whispers of doubt persist. A handful of artifacts resist easy explanation. Some tablets display weathering patterns consistent with centuries of burial, and a few copper pieces show oxidation layers that suggest genuine age. Could a portion of the collection be authentic, later buried among fakes to lend them credibility? Or were the forgers simply that skilled, using techniques to artificially age their creations? The most tantalizing theory proposes that the hoaxers might have stumbled upon real indigenous artifacts, then altered them with fabricated inscriptions to prove a more sensational narrative. The Michigan relics live on in a strange limbo, too flawed to be taken seriously, too intriguing to be entirely forgotten. They serve as a cautionary tale about the seductive power of wanting to believe and the lengths to which people will go to reshape history in their own image. Whether fraudulent or misunderstood, these artifacts remind us that every discovery carries not just the weight of the past, but the biases and ambitions of those who unearth it. In the end, the Michigan relics may tell us less about ancient visitors than about our own endless hunger for connection across time and space. Deep in Arizona's Superstition Mountains, where jagged peaks glow red under the desert sun, a legend has lured fortune seekers to their doom for over a century: the lost Dutchman's gold mine. The story begins in the 1870s when a German immigrant named Jacob Waltz, known as the Dutchman, allegedly discovered a vein of gold so rich that he could pluck nuggets from the earth with his bare hands. On his deathbed in 1891, Waltz whispered cryptic directions to a caretaker, igniting a treasure hunt that would consume countless lives. Some seekers vanished without a trace, their bleached bones found years later nestled among the canyon walls. others met more gruesome fates. Explorer Adolf Ruth's decapitated corpse was discovered in 1931, a crumpled map clutched in his hand, his skull found a quarter-mile away. Geology adds layers of intrigue to the myth. The superstitions sit atop a volcanic field littered with quartz veins, a telltale sign of gold deposits. Prospectors have found traces of the precious metal in the area, though never in the life-altering quantities Waltz described, the most compelling clue. A peculiar type of iron-stained quartz called rosarita, which Waltz mentioned in his riddling directions. Samples matching this description have surfaced in remote canyons, fueling speculation that the mine wasn't just a fabrication, but a carefully guarded secret. Modern technology should have solved the mystery by now, yet the mountains resist scrutiny. Satellite imagery fails to penetrate the labyrinth of slot canyons, while ground-penetrating radar yields erratic readings, possibly due to the region's magnetic basalt. Even drones struggle with the treacherous updrafts that swirl between the cliffs. Some researchers propose the mine wasn't a single location at all, but a network of small, easily concealed dig sites, Waltz's golden secret, scattered like breadcrumbs across the wilderness. What transforms this tale from folklore into obsession are the whispers of a curse. The Apache, who long avoided these peaks, spoke of a vengeful thunder god guarding sacred ground. Many who have searched for the Dutchman's gold report eerie phenomena, compasses spinning wildly, phantom footsteps echoing behind them, sudden gusts of wind snatching maps from their hands. Whether supernatural or simply the desert's cruel whims, the superstitions seem determined to keep their secret. The mine's enduring allure lies in its duality, a promise of unimaginable wealth shadowed by the very real price of its pursuit. For every skeptic dismissing it as tall tales, there's a backpacker vanishing into the canyons with a tattered map and unshakable conviction. As the desert swallows another sunset over those rust-colored cliffs, one truth remains: some treasures aren't meant to be found, and some stories grow taller not because they're false, but because the land itself refuses to let them die. The Richat structure in Mauritania wasn't even on most Atlantis hunters' radars until the early 2000s, when satellite imagery revealed its uncanny resemblance to Plato's descriptions. This massive geologic dome, stretching 25 miles across the Sahara, looks like a bullseye from above, concentric rings of alternating rock layers that mirror Plato's account of Atlantis' circular city design. But it's not just the shape that's compelling. The philosopher wrote of Atlantis lying beyond the Pillars of Hercules, traditionally identified as the Strait of Gibraltar. The Richat sits just outside this boundary, precisely where an ancient seafaring civilization might have established an outpost. Ground expeditions have added fuel to the fire. Researchers exploring the structure's outer rings found marine fossils embedded in the rock, proof this now arid region was once submerged. Even more startling are the scattered remnants of what appear to be artificial structures. Half-buried stone platforms and geometric arrangements of boulders suggest human activity dating back 12,000 years, aligning with Plato's timeline for Atlantis' destruction. Some archaeologists argue these are natural formations, but independent teams using ground-penetrating radar claim to have detected buried walls following the ring's curvature. The most controversial discovery came in 2021, when a survey team reported finding traces of orichalcum, a legendary metal Plato described as covering Atlantis temples in nearby riverbeds. Chemical analysis showed an unusual copper-zinc alloy matching ancient Mediterranean metallurgy techniques. Skeptics counter that similar alloys occur naturally in volcanic regions, but the timing coincides with evidence of a massive climate shift. Core samples from the Sahara's ancient lake beds reveal this area underwent catastrophic flooding around 11,600 years ago, the same period Plato cited for Atlantis' downfall. What really makes the Richat hypothesis stand apart from other Atlantis candidates is its ability to explain Plato's errors. The philosopher claimed Atlantis sunk beneath the ocean, yet no sunken city exists off Mauritania's coast. But if the Richat was an inland capital connected to the sea by now vanished rivers, rising sea levels could have isolated it before desertification completed its demise. This matches recent paleohydrology maps showing vast waterways once crisscrossing the region. Ancient Saharan rock art depicting boats and aquatic creatures further hints at a lost water-based culture. Modern technology keeps adding layers to the mystery. High-resolution magnetometry scans in 2023 revealed what might be a submerged river channel winding toward the structure, a potential canal like those Plato said radiated from Atlantis' center. Meanwhile, linguistic researchers point to local Berber oral traditions describing a great city of the ancestors, swallowed by shifting sands. Could these be fragmented memories of the same catastrophe? The debate won't be settled until large-scale excavations begin, but the Richat's sheer geographic fit keeps it at the forefront of Atlantean theories. Whether it's the legendary city or merely a geologic wonder that inspired tales, this African enigma proves some mysteries grow more fascinating the closer we look. Recent discoveries in the Nazca Desert are challenging decades of speculation about those massive Earth drawings. While the alien theories grabbed headlines, a quieter revolution has been unfolding on the ground literally. Archaeologists using drone mapping and soil analysis around Location 3, a cluster of lines depicting a hummingbird and spiral patterns, found something unexpected beneath the surface, a network of ancient aqueducts and underground water channels directly intersecting the geoglyphs. This wasn't random overlap. The lines appear to map the hidden water flow, with spirals marking key access points where people could lower containers into the earth to reach precious groundwater. The connection between the lines and water isn't purely practical, it's deeply spiritual. Researchers analyzing pollen samples from nearby ruins identified traces of hallucinogenic plants like vilca, used in Andean rituals to commune with deities. This suggests the lines weren't just irrigation blueprints, but sacred pathways for ceremonial processions. Imagine barefoot priests following the hummingbird's beak toward a spiral, chanting as they poured offerings into the earth, begging the desert to release its hidden rivers. Footwear impressions preserved in hardened mud near the lines support this, showing repetitive tread patterns consistent with ritual dances. The most compelling evidence comes from satellite thermography. During summer solstices, the morning sun heats certain lines faster than others, creating thermal currents that mimic the appearance of water shimmering across the desert. To a culture that revered water as divine, this wouldn't just be symbolism, it would be magic. Even the famous astronaut glyph, once touted as proof of alien contact, takes on new meaning when viewed through this lens. Its elongated head mirrors traditional headdresses worn by water shamans in pre-Incan art, and its outstretched arm aligns perfectly with a dried-up riverbed that still floods during rare El Niño events. What's revolutionary about these findings isn't just debunking extraterrestrial theories, it's revealing how the Nazca transformed survival into sacred art. Their lines weren't messages to the stars, but love letters to the earth itself, written in the only language they knew would last, the unshakable patience of stone. As drones uncover more geoglyphs linked to subterranean springs, we're left with a humbling truth. Sometimes the most alien thing about ancient cultures isn't their connection to the cosmos, but the depth of their intimacy with the ground beneath their feet. From the vanished colonists of Roanoke to the astronomical genius of the Antikythera mechanism, these 25 locations share one unshakable truth: history is not a neatly bound book, but a tapestry riddled with missing threads. Each site whispers the same humbling lesson. For all our satellite imaging and carbon dating, the past guards its secrets with fierce determination. The builders of Gobekli Tepe left no written language, yet their towering pillars speak volumes about human ambition. The architects of Derinkuyu carved entire cities beneath the earth without a single blueprint surviving. These gaps in our knowledge aren't failures, they're invitations to keep searching, questioning, and marveling at how much we've yet to uncover. What makes these mysteries endure isn't just their age, but the way they defy simple explanations. The Georgia Guidestones stood for decades as modern monoliths, their cryptic commandments sparking debates until their abrupt destruction left us with more questions than answers. The Potomsky crater's metallic heart remains buried under Siberian permafrost, refusing to reveal whether it's a meteorite's kiss or something far stranger. Even sites we've studied for centuries, like the Great Pyramids, still surrender new chambers when we least expect it, proving that familiarity doesn't equate to understanding. This is why we chase shadows in deserts and dive into sunken cities, because every unexplained glyph or oddly placed stone forces us to reconsider what we think we know. Maybe the real treasure of Oak Island isn't gold, but the reminder that obsession can outlast centuries. Perhaps the Nazca Lines' greatest lesson isn't how they were made, but why a culture would invest generations carving messages only the sky could read. These places don't just belong to archaeologists, they're shared human puzzles, waiting for fresh eyes to see what others missed. So tell us which of these enigmas lingers in your thoughts: the cursed ruins of Bhangarh, the underwater riddles of Yonaguni, or the coded pages of the Voynich Manuscript still daring anyone to crack its cipher. Drop your favorite in the comments, and if you crave more journeys into the unexplained, hit that subscribe button, because somewhere right now, a farmer's plow is turning up strange artifacts, a diver is spotting odd shapes on the ocean floor, and another piece of our past is waiting to rewrite the story we tell ourselves about who we are and how much we have yet to discover.